Battlefield Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Ole aka ChalkOne alongside Katie aka Peekaboo Bang for another installment of our His and Hers series, and we're sort of extending it into a series of mini podcasts, if you want to call it that. Instead of doing a long form podcast, we're hoping to do several videos that are a bit shorter, focus on 2 or 3 topics at a time, and we can sort of hopefully deliver those a bit more frequently to you guys. Because we've missed you all, and also you've been unsubscribing like crazy from the channel, you fuckers. Maybe I won't leave that part in, but I will, because you won't hear it if you unsubscribe. So, lots has happened in Battlefield 4 lately. The big fall patch came out that changed the game in a significant number of ways, but we're not actually going to talk in detail about all the things that changed. There's other great videos out there and articles that detail all that if you want to get right in depth. I figured we would just talk a little bit about how our playing experience of Battlefield 4 has changed since the patch. And I guess if I were to start it off and as a summary, it hasn't really changed the game for me all that much. And that may come as a surprise to some people, because I've seen people talk about how it's such a different game now and time to kill and blah, blah, blah. But that's not really something I've always paid a lot of attention to, Katie. You would know that. I don't, I sort of just go with the flow. Battlefield 4, much to the chagrin of my teammates sometimes when I start running around corners and shit, going all YOLO. What do you think? Like, overall, have you felt much of a big difference since this fall patch came out?
I have felt and seen, some of the differences. Some of them are more easily spotted than others. I don't think it's changed the gameplay that much. I was talking about this last night, actually, with someone. I was playing a little Battlefield 3 and watching some videos that they had made prior to that, and they were actually drilling on like reviving and tossing med bags and that kind of thing. But it hit me that Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 community-wise, just from a player's standpoint, is totally different. BF3 really fostered this, everybody was on Battlelog and they were, always posting and always talking. There were huge groups of just random tournaments that people set up for no other point than to play with other clans that you had run into in public servers, and just play together and compete against each other and have a good time, and create these videos that really made you laugh and really just fostered this community feeling. And then Battlefield 4 is not like that at all, and the gameplay, I think, is part of that. And I think the way it doesn't promote that sort of family feeling among even other clans or other players is a big downgrade for me and has been since release. And I just couldn't put my finger on what it was, and this is definitely it.
Yeah, and I don't know what caused that either. We've talked about this before, that Battlefield 4 just somehow felt different, and I don't think this patch made it feel any more like Battlefield 3.
And it didn't make it feel any better for me. Granted,
it's different, but it's not necessarily better. It's like a different taste in your mouth, and you're still like, I'm still not quite sure I like this, but it's not the same as before.
Yeah, and Battlelog is still a wasteland. It's still a graveyard. And when on the Battlefield 4 side, even with friends that still play Battlefield 3 and haven't switched over, it's not the same. The activity is not there like it was.
Yeah, it is very different. And I think most people experience that when they look at their friends list. But there's still lots of people playing it in Battlefield 4, I think currently, or was recently, free to play for a couple days. Again, they've been doing that a lot, pushing that. I think one of the biggest changes in the patch, a lot of talk was around netcode and stuff like that. They've sort of, it feels different in a way. There does seem to be a little bit less of that, what the hell just happened to me moment where you just curse at the game. Some people will tell you the time to kill seems longer, seems shorter. I think the hit markers are definitely a little bit more accurate. So there,
I would agree with that.
There seems to be a bit more of that feeling of, okay, yeah, I actually hit that guy, or didn't hit that guy, or whatever. Honestly, the biggest things that stand out for me in this patch are some of the cosmetic things, like the revive timers. When you're playing as the assault class and you're reviving people, you can now not only see who's dead, but it's also got that nice little timer on it, which is nice. But that's sort of it's a nice to have. It doesn't really change the game in itself. It improves it a little bit. Same with the little sound you get when your revive paddles are fully charged.
That I appreciate, actually.
It is really nice, and I've noticed I get revived at 100% a lot more often than I used to be, because to be honest, most people never knew when it was, am I done rubbing these things together now or what? So most people didn't do it. I never bothered doing it before. Now I make that effort because I at least know, okay, it's fully charged and I can revive this person at 100% health. But that's not, that's a minor thing.
And then having to Mother Goose an ammo box to get a grenade for 10 minutes.
That
you
seems
have to sit
excessive. I run with the incendiary grenade as a support class, and that thing, I don't even bother anymore, because I might as well stop playing for 2 minutes if I'm just going to sit on that box. And that seems strange. I know they tweaked those, and I'm sure there was some reasoning behind. I think different grenades take a different amount of time.
They do,
to reload. But the incendiary, you only get one off, so I would have thought, okay, that's not one that will take forever. But clearly, I'm mistaken in that. So I don't know. Overall, the game feels maybe a little bit more tightened up than it was before. But I also never had, from a technical point of view, I get more game crashes now than I did before. But I think I blame that on my video card drivers. Well, it's usually the GeForce drivers, and I'm hard crashing the game. But that's something that people also take note of and don't really appreciate when that happens. But you're right. It's still, the times that we play Battlefield 4, it's usually with a very select small group of people, probably less than 5 in total. Considering my friends list is full, the amount of people that are usually online is less than 10 on average.
It's slim pickings.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, and the stupid cap doesn't help things. I'm still mad.
What cap?
That cap. The friends cap. You can only have so many friends on your friends list, and it's frustrating.
It is, especially when it's tied to all. I'm still bitter about that a year later. Well, it's tied to all Origin games. I think it's a valid complaint. It's not just Battlefield 4. It's the same as, I guess Steam has a cap as well, but you constantly get extensions to that when you play games or whatever. But so I don't know. Overall, it was a large patch. It changed a lot of things, but I think for me personally, it had a fairly minimal impact on the game, which I was expecting. I don't think I was in that camp of people who was like, this patch is going to fix everything, because that seemed always unrealistic to me for anybody who was feeling that way.
I feel like, too, if this was the game that had come out a year ago, the game after this patch, I feel like if this had been the starting point, it may have been a different situation.
Yes.
I think the last year would have been completely different.
Because a lot of people have gotten turned off by the game over the months. And to be honest, they'll come back and they will give it a shot when there's a large patch. But unless there are huge changes, which are really difficult to do to begin with, they're just going to dismiss it again and say, you know what, this hasn't done enough. And that's actually a good point, because I think the CTE in general has done some great things for the game.
Yeah, while I appreciate the idea behind the CTE, I'm not getting paid to do their job.
Well,
I'm
and
doing
it's also
their
too
job
late for that.
That too, but I mean, the CTE should have been something that was done in the beta, in a true beta, and not done, during this whole last year of the live release of the game. Like the life cycle of this game is almost done. And
Battlefield used to have, or DICE used to have, that sort of a team in place to do that kind of testing beforehand. We've talked in the past about how the beta these days are, in a lot of games, the betas are just sort of promotional demos, really. They don't accomplish anything. The CTE actually sets goals for the participants. They'll actually say, you know what, the next 2 weeks we are solely testing or recording metrics on this particular thing. They'll limit the maps to certain things they want to test. And that makes sense. That's how you do testing, right? So it's done positive things for the game. It hasn't really changed the game in the way that maybe they'd hoped, given the fact that it's been out for a year now. I think it can leave us hopeful for future games if they're going to use some of the data they got from this for, say, Battlefield Hardline or even Battlefront. I don't know how similar Battlefront is going to be to the Battlefield series.
Just the engine too. I mean, really, hopefully to improve, where Frostbite's going. I hope that's part of the goal. I mean, obviously it is, and it's going to change things and improve upon that. It's clearly the goal was not just to fix Battlefield 4. It was for other things too. But like you said, I think looking in the big picture, helping the engine along to because it's going to be part of future games to come, Battlefront in particular. So hopefully that will improve that.
Yeah, and for those of you playing on consoles, you can now partake in the CTE as well, but it's not actually on consoles. I found this slightly amusing. If you're, say, an Xbox One player and you own Battlefield 4 on Xbox One, you can sign up for the CTE and play it on your PC. Which struck me as, I get that, because I think running something like the CTE on multiple platforms would require way too many resources from the team at DICE or at DICE LA or who has ever taken care of it. So I guess it's good. So if you should happen to only own BF4 on a console, but you also have a PC powerful enough to play Battlefield 4, you can jump in the CT. And it's a different experience. Some people, I think, sometimes use the CT merely to test out new stuff. Like they released the final stand maps for a week or so, a couple of weeks back in the CTE. It was like, one map per day for 4 days. So you got a sneak peek at them before, and it's good for testing if people are testing it, but you can tell there was an influx of players at the time, myself included. I don't play the CT very often at all, that merely went there to see what's coming in Final Stand. So, I don't know. I've said this before that I feel less and less enthused about new DLCs because I already know everything that's going to be there. I've already played the maps. There'll be a patch the week before with all the new assignments. So I'll have most of those done, or I already know which ones I don't care about, and that's just the end of that. Okay, so that's the patch. I'm going to switch topics around. I said we were going to talk about the second topic first, but this leads into Final Stand and the rumor that the Final Stand DLC, which is supposedly the last DLC. There's been rumors of a 6th DLC coming, maybe. We'll talk more about that perhaps at another time. It's really, really, just really vague rumors, but something a little more concrete is that the Final Stand DLC might include a bow and arrow type weapon. I believe it was today that Battlelog was updated and you can now see the new Phantom Operative assignment. This is one of those crazy assignments that we'll all have to figure out how to unlock at some point again, which is going to be great because we'll be able to be driven crazy again for about a good week. Watch Jack Frags do, 24-hour live streams while he goes slowly insane trying to decipher sounds on maps and whale noises. We always
say we're not going to get involved in that too, and then it never fails. We get sucked into it.
I think the last one was a little bit too much. We got a little too much into that. I learned things about math that I never wanted to know.
My poor brother too. He's a math professor, and he was even like, "This makes no sense mathematically. I don't understand this."
And of course, it turned out to be something totally different in the end.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so that image for that assignment is basically it's a bow and arrow, and it's one of those. I guess they call it a spider bow, or it might be called a spider in the game. And some people on Reddit have also revealed some code underlying in Battlelog about multiple different types of arrows. So this sounds very reminiscent of the crossbow in Battlefield 3.
Mm-hmm. Although a little different. It more reminds me of like a composite bow or like a la Crisis 3, something, similar to that. So that could be interesting.
Yeah, there's supposedly going to be, I think, 4 different types of bow. You'll have an explosive one, not bow, but arrows. An explosive tipped arrow.
Bolts.
No, on a bow it would be an arrow.
Well, I guess technically. Yeah.
On a crossbow it's a bolt. I think. I'm just going to go with arrow and ignore that.
Cut that out.
Including one that detects motion. and one that's more stabilized, I guess, for longer range shots.
So
and
very
sort of
similar to the bolts that we did have in Battlefield 3.
Yeah. Now, did you ever play with the crossbow in BF3?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Like on purpose? Like as in, I'm going to use this over the M16 or something? Or was it more like, I'm going to be an idiot and be a troll and shoot people with a crossbow? Because that's all I ever did with it.
No, because you could replace your... Like, it was a gadget. Like, you could replace...
That's true.
With the... So you got a third weapon out of it, basically.
Now, would you want to see that again as a gadget?
If I played Recon... When I played Recon, that would be when I used it more often.
With the explosive arrow or bolt? Or just in general? Oh.
In general, because it gave... well, two things. Assault class, I would use it because it gave me a longer range, like it gave me a scoped weapon. Mm-hmm. You know, basically, it gave me something with a little bit further range as opposed to, you know, AK or something, which generally, for some reason, I only used it when I was playing stuff like, you know, North Star Canals or
TDM.
You know, when I was doing TDM type stuff. So I would have one more weapon as opposed to a spawn beacon, which like why would I use that in TDM? So but
that makes sense. I would like to see this not as a gadget but as a replacement for a primary weapon, and I'd like to see it be a very difficult unlock. Most of the assignments for the Phantom project are pretty difficult. They require a lot of kills. Like they'll require 20 kills in a jet, 200 kills in a tank. You know, so they're things that you have to work at a little bit. And if this is the last Phantom assignment, I'd like this to be an unlock that's not incredibly easy to get, and then that it can replace your primary weapon, and it will actually be a good weapon that will be powerful. It will have good range or something like that. Like it will actually be an alternative to, you know, a high fire rate assault rifle or something like that. That's what I'd like to see personally. I think it would make it more interesting to me to actually try and use that. So when you come across somebody that's got the bow, you know that person's put in some freaking effort to get that.
Well, and I would really like it to be obviously something that, because it makes no real noise,
right?
You know, something that's stealthy. You know, it doesn't show up on your mini map. It's not something that's going to be like, I mean, other than the explosive one, maybe where that explosive is going to show up on your mini map, but more like a silenced weapon is what I want. Mm-hmm. I want stealthy out of this sucker.
And I don't want it to be a very long reload. Like I want it to be pretty quick fire with a good animation, hopefully, to do that. You know, it was almost like in Crysis 3, the bow was something a little bit special to use that. So that would be, I'd like it to be similar to that, not just another gadget that, you know, mostly trolls are going to use. But I guess we'll wait and see. I have a feeling, I don't think we don't have a real Final Stand release date yet. As I say that now, they'll probably announce it tomorrow before I get a chance to post this. But I'm guessing it'll be in the next couple of weeks. We know it's going to be on a Tuesday because that's just the way things roll. And it will probably be late November, maybe early December or something like that. That's my guess. I think they're close. When you start seeing things on Battlelog like this, you know they're close. The next patch is going to have some of the assignments in it. So we'll know more soon. And have you played the Final Stand maps in the CTE? You haven't, right?
Nope, I didn't. I think I was not around for that.
Yeah, they were okay. They're a bit different. So they look good enough for me to look forward to playing them some more, which is not something I could have said about, say, China Rising. So we'll see how that goes.
I wasn't impressed with China Rising.
No. But they offer something a little bit different. They're winter maps mostly, so that's kind of a different experience. So we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see if it is the final DLC. We now have a release date for Hardline, which is March 17th, I believe it was, of next year.
Yes.
So it's a little bit further back than I think originally anticipated. Obviously, they pushed it back from this fall. Then it was going to be in February, was rumored. So now it's middle of March. So I guess, I don't know, would there be room for a Battlefield 4 DLC in between there? Potentially. Do you think they would even bother having one? I don't know. I think we'll talk about that another time. But when it comes to Hardline, there's a couple of tweets in the last week or so that I picked up on that I found interesting. They both came from folks working on the multiplayer for Battlefield Hardline and essentially asked almost identical questions on Twitter, asking about what do people think about splitting up the revive and medkit gadgets? Do they both have to be on the same classes? And you and I talked about this a little bit before we started recording, and I thought it would be an interesting point of discussion, and I really want to know what you people listening and watching are thinking about that. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Why don't we start with you? I know, like, given the fact that we have 4 classes and revive, so whatever the revive tool is, self-revive or reviving other people, and the med kits have always been, recently anyways, part of the assault class. So question isn't so much should they be on a different class, but should it be on separate classes? Like, should one have the med kits and the other have the revive gadget?
I think per what we discussed earlier, if they're going to split it into among 2 different classes, then they need to have a 5th class.
Right.
They need to have a new class for that, and one that would have the med bag. I still think assault should be given the defib, because the assault class, to me, like we were talking about earlier, is your forward movers. It's your guys that are pushing. It should be kind of not so much your tank, but your DPM guy, your the guy that's going to get the damage done. Mm-hmm. Not so much the support guys, because they're there to lay down fire and to control the lane and to drop ammo. And I saw some people talking about, well, it should be the support class that gets the med bags. Right. No, I don't think it's hard enough getting that one class to drop the thing they already get to drop, and they don't do it often enough. And they're, like I said, that support guy he's meant to control the lane. He's not meant to really be the forward pusher. No. He can help you push around a corner in that front position, but your assault guys should really be who's on the front line. If they're going to split those gadgets, then making a 5th class that would be more like what we discussed too, bringing in other games to kind of give you the idea of the metaphor is like World of Warcraft, like your druid, or other games that have a monk, or what I would kind of a Navy corpsman if you're in the Marine Corps, something similar to that, more of a reserve class, if that makes sense. Your reserve guy is going to be probably someone with similar weapons to what the engineer class gets, PDWs, carbines, smaller assault rifles, stuff like that. It's still pretty quick on the move and can follow that front line and also quote unquote support that front line, but not necessarily the support class. And I think reserve is actually a really good title, kind of, or description of what that class would be.
I don't think it really fits with anybody else. If you give the med kit to the support class, they now have 2 types of things to distribute to the other teammates. And like you said, it's already difficult enough. And not just to get ammo. That always gets mentioned a lot more as to, it's hard to get ammo, but I found it just as hard the other day playing Battlefield 4 on Metro to get med packs. There were ammo boxes all over the place, and I couldn't find health for the life of me. Now, Hardline solves that a bit by the fact that you can just walk up to a medic class and take health from them. Same with the support class, so that alleviates that a little bit. I just don't see where else it would go. So if for some reason the thought is that having revive and medkit in the same class somehow makes it overpowered, then sure, then break it out from the assault class, make it a true medic class. But then we're going back to the type of class system we had in Battlefield 2, where assault and medic were separate, sniper and recon or special forces were different. And suddenly you're back in 6 classes. Is that what people want? I don't know. I don't think it really matters, because you can customize the classes so much.
Especially now, you can replace your med bag or your defibs with something else. Generally, if we're playing Metro and we're in a situation where we're trying to break out, I don't carry a med bag. I carry smoke. I carry M320 smoke. So I don't necessarily see why people would want to split it unless they're hoping for a 5th class, because you're right. Yeah. I don't see where else it would go.
They did the same thing that bothered me a little bit when they gave Recon to the support class when they gave C4 to the support class in addition to the Recon class in Battlefield 4. Both of those classes have access to C4 now, but if I ever want to play, if I feel the need to have C4, and I think most people are the same way, they'll play support. If not for the sole benefit of the fact that you can refill your C4, because you can carry an ammo box. So, in my mind, the C4 for the Recon class has become a thing that doesn't matter anymore. Like, might as well not have it. So this whole thing of moving things back and forth or making multiple classes have access to the same gadget, I don't think it works for me. I think classes are customizable enough that you can be whatever you want. You can be a true assault with grenade launcher, and smoke or whatever, especially now that in BF3 there were certain, like, you gadget 1 you couldn't use in gadget slot 2. In BF4 it's cross compatible, so you can do all that. Now Hardline, what I recall from the beta is that it's a bit more scaled back again. Like, it seemed, at least in the beta. Now that's, who knows whether or not that's reflective of the full game when it comes out. So maybe it won't be quite as customizable, but I'm perfectly fine with having that one class have the revive and medkit. Regardless of what the class is called, I think they should stay together. To me, they belong together. If you're going to play that role of healing people and reviving people, that's your role. I don't think there's any need to split it up. And I found it interesting with some of the comments on some of the replies on Twitter where the community seems to be somewhat divided. I've seen people be very staunch about saying, no, they should stay together. It's the way it is. It's good like that. And other people actually saying, yeah, that should be split up, which I find interesting because I've never heard anybody talk about this before. So let us know in the comments what you think about that. I'm sure there's a variety of different opinions. And I guess we'll see what's actually coming out. The one thing that I do like about this is that the Hardline multiplayer producers are going out on Twitter and just asking questions. Getting a feel for what the community is interested in. So that's always a good sign. Are you still looking forward to Hardline? I
am, actually.
We had the discussion the other day in TeamSpeak where some people were not very excited about Hardline.
Gimlet's an old fart. He doesn't get excited about much anymore.
But there's a fair bit of old farts in the Battlefield community that have been around for a long time. So
yeah, I think like you were saying before, it's kind of divided. Some people are excited for it, something different, something new to throw some time into, and other people could care less. But I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, I'm really excited to see what Visceral's done and see, especially the single player. I'm still really intrigued by that. And of course the multiplayer, because that's, what I enjoy. But, I'm excited. Yeah,
I'd like to play some multiplayer games that are a little bit different than just Battlefield 4. That has been hit and miss lately. Played some Metro with really good company, and that's been enjoyable. But that is still, more or less the same type of gameplay every time you play it. So it's time for something new, and I'm looking forward to it. Maybe Final Stand will provide some of that. I say this every time before a DLC. I'm hopeful, but I don't have any expectations.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Let us know your thoughts, and also let us know what you think of these sort of 30-minute mini podcast segments where we talk about a couple of topics. If you have anything particular you want us to talk about, please yell at us, tell us on Twitter, Facebook.
In the comments.
In the comments would be an excellent place. So let us know what you think, and hopefully we'll bring you another one of these a little bit sooner than last time. Also check out the arcade block unboxing video that we just did. Until next time, everybody, I'm Ole, aka ChalkOne.
And I'm Peekaboo Bang.